My first thought, though, is let's just talk about the NBA first overall pick, where Jabari Smith is minus 165 to go number one. Now, Orlando has that pick. There's obviously always a possibility of a trade, but right now it's Orlando and Jabari Smith in the betting markets at BetMGM here in non-Nevada. Jabari Smith is minus 165. Always shop around. Chet Holmgren plus 140, and Paolo Banchero is 9-1. Let me ask you a question, Jeff. This is a multi-pronged question. First question, are you 100% sure that Jabari Smith is going to be the Magic's pick at number one?
As soon as Orlando won the lottery, the first text message I sent to one of my friends was, this pretty much locks in Smith going one because of the history of Orlando taking the tweeners that they usually do. I think he's going number one. Now, do I want to lay $1.65 like you have to at BetMGM? No, I don't. But I have a hard time seeing anyone else going number one. Could they take Holmgren? Sure. But it's really just one of those two guys going number one. Once you get past Holmgren, you're not winning your bet in all likelihood.
Can I push back on that a little bit?
Go ahead.
So the Magic have Jalen Suggs, obviously out of Gonzaga, who, let's put it this way, didn't light up the world his rookie year. Is that a kind way of putting it? Cole Anthony, obviously, the old Carolina product. Franz Wagner. So, I mean, they've got these, a bunch of college names that are, could end up being pretty solid pros. Wendell Carter Jr., Mo Bamba. So they have a lot of players. What they don't have is a lot of people who can create their own shot. Like a few of those guys, like Suggs, Anthony, Wagner, I mean, kind of, sort of, but not really. They're not scaring anybody. They don't have anybody that really consistently creates their own shot. And Jabari Smith and Chet Holmgren are not players that can consistently create their own shot. Jabari Smith, great knockdown, 6'10" jump shot. No one is disputing that. Chet Holmgren, great interior defender, one would think. He's got to eat a sandwich or two. But Paolo Banchero, like Duke's offense, often ran through him. He makes great decisions and can create offense. You don't think all those other Magic players become better if they draft Banchero, who, by the way, is 9-1 here at BetMGM. You could find him at 12-1, I believe, at DraftKings. Last I looked, I'll look again. Here in town, by the way, at the only shop, Will Hill, that has it, not even that good. It was 7-1 last night. You don't think there's an outside shot? Paolo Banchero will go with the number one pick in the draft? And by the way, if anybody trades up for number one, that's the dude they're picking, in my opinion.
I don't see it. But if I were making the pick, that would be the pick I would make. But that has nothing to do, again, the pick I would make has nothing to do with what Orlando's going to do.
But Jeff, you know how many people, because I would make Paolo Banchero my first pick, you know how many people have that sentiment? At some point, the Magic, they got one job, Jeff. They got to know who to draft number one. Isn't that the dude? Shouldn't we be making a long shot bet on Paolo Banchero?
I don't think it's going to win, but I understand where you're coming from.
I'm making the bet. I'm making it.
Starting like a couple of days ago, Coach, on Sunday and then into yesterday, the odds really dropped significantly for Paolo Banchero to go number one overall. I'm talking he was 20-1, maybe even higher than that on Sunday. Well, here we are now 2 days before the draft. He's sitting around like plus 260 to go number one. Are you buying that steam? Could he go number one overall?
Yeah, he could, because the one thing about the Magic is they need a plug-and-play guy right away. I mean, I like Jabari Smith. I think he has I'm not saying he's Kevin Durant, but he has Kevin Durant-type skill set. But Paolo Banchero has an NBA-ready body. He's 6'10", 250, terrific passer, can play him in the mid-post and face, can play him in isolations, play him in pick and pops. The big thing is he doesn't defend. Now, can he defend? Is that a lack of making defense important at Duke last year? Duke has not been the defensive team they've been in years past. That's just a fact. Basically he's had these great workouts. Banchero, where like at Duke, it was a democracy offensively. Very similar to when Zion came out. It was democracy offensively. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the game, you think about that Michigan State game where they lost to go to the Final Four with Zion. He didn't touch the ball at the end of the game. So Banchero's he's gonna work out great. He's got a big body, good hands, can rebound, physical. And think about the Gonzaga game where he started the game with knocking down 3 after 3. Good shot mechanics, although he didn't shoot it great as for the season. I think he'll be a good shooter. He is a terrific passer, so I could see very easily. I'm Orlando. I've drafted slightly built players, whether it was Bamba or whether it was who's the kid from Florida State? It just lost my mind. Yeah, Isaac. You know what? Maybe we go with a grown blank man, and I can very much see Orlando saying, you know what, let's go with him. And remember now, John Hammond, the GM there, drafted Jabari Parker, another Duke guy, blew out his knee, but that was when he was at Milwaukee. So he might have a comfort level with that.
Drew, this is all so fun to observe, but boy, I sure do hope it's Banchero in the end. What is your sense now?
So it was funny. It was like last night at around like 7:00-ish. We had, I think this move generally, the last night's move originated at an exchange where you could get pretty decent liquidity on Paolo at about plus 250. And somebody came in and snapped up about 10K to win 25K in like one swoop. And you knew that kind of something was cooking at that point. And then all of the legals just got, the legal market just imploded from there on. Like the next hour was just incredible watching the market go. Those kind of moves, it was a professional move. This wasn't, this is not like people passing around Twitter rumors kind of stuff. And I think, the fact that this morning I haven't gotten a single panic call, everyone knows that I have a huge Banchero position. I haven't gotten a single call from a pro who's like trying to lay off anything because they bet into, Banchero at a bad number or anything like that. So I think Woj might be wrong. And honestly, at this point, I'm effectively free rolling Paolo to go 1.01 with no skin in the game any other way. And it will be a huge financial windfall, which I will be very happy about. But this added layer of potentially being right and Woj being wrong is not this isn't something I expected to sweat today.
No, that part is priceless. That's right.
It is.
Yes.
I don't recall anything like this personally. But based on every possible back channel, every kind of way I can read this market, Woj is being lied to for reasons unbeknownst to me. And I will still contend that a rational person with zero information about this market cannot say sincerely that they know what order these top 3 teams are going to pick in, let alone what players are going to go in these 3 spots.
Mm-hmm.
So how in the world can you say that there is any kind of certainty? I cannot get there. No way, no how. And I will just say after the Woj tweet today, everyone's screenshotting FanDuel's minus 6,000 on Jabbar. Flush all of that. Anyone with that kind of social media nonsense, they don't know what they're talking about. FanDuel was writing a one-way market on Smith to go first. You could not, no one, forget about me, no person could bet $1 on Banchero at the price they were offering when they had that market up. So they were literally just trying to write the most insane bets possible on Smith based on, public steam, from the Woj tweet to try to balance their books, presumably, because FanDuel, frankly, was the slowest mover last night as the action was coming in pretty heavily. But I will also tell you, FanDuel, of the legal shops, they were the least inclined to write a bet during the entire process. So, I don't know that their market is even really giving you any information whatsoever. And I think now it's just a waiting game to see, how this plays out. If you want me to put my tinfoil hat on and tell you, well, why would Woj be being lied to? And he must have 2 sources on opposite sides of this. That's plausible to me. I mean, if Orlando is inclined to not take Smith, but they think OKC is very hot on him, then they should be pressing every button in their power to make the world think Smith is going first in the hopes that they can get at some of that war chest that Oklahoma City has. In terms of draft capital over the next 5 years. Like Oklahoma City is the target if you want to try to extract some draft capital. And if they, for whatever reason, either because of Smith's camp or because of what they know from the information side of things, that Oklahoma City covets Smith, then them lying to Woj even on the eve of the draft makes complete and total sense to me. Similarly, I think anyone connected to the Chet Holmgren camp is inclined to try to push Smith to go first because that keeps Holmgren in play for a top 2 draft spot. If Holmgren does not go top 2, I think he is facing a potential slide. I think realistically, if you were to tell me that the professional move last night was correct, Paolo is going first overall, I still cannot tell you if that means Orlando is taking him or if Orlando and Houston have some sort of handshake swap.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a swap and Orlando moves into the 3 spot, Chet goes 3. If it is not a swap and Orlando keeps Banchero, then Houston probably takes Ivy 3, based on everything I know. I will say that, like, in general, of all of the players involved in all of this, the Houston front office is dark. The Oklahoma City front office has never leaked anything to the betting community. Orlando has done an exceptional job of sending misinformation. You talk to 3 people there, you get 3 consistent different stories. No one's changing their story, and it's different who you talk to. And I think on the player side of things, Holmgren's camp and Banchero's camp have been pretty quiet, and Smith's camp has been very, very open that he has not been promised, even as late as 5 p.m. yesterday, that Orlando was ever interested in taking him. So I would say they are still skeptical as of this moment. So I sit here right now and tell you that the uncertainty is still enormous. Any bet you can make right now, which I think is probably the ship has sailed. I'm sorry to tell you, anyone listening, I don't think you can really get a bet. You definitely can't get a bet of size from this point into the draft starting. But I am fine going out on a limb and saying that Woj's certainty that was implied by his tweet this morning is not correct.